Bless the Lord, O my soul, blessed art thou, Lord. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name.
I would like to start off this address to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with a quote from St. Porphyrios. The spiritual struggle is this: to transfigure anything that happens to you into something good. If you have tribulations, then give yourself to prayer. Slowly, you will be able to heal all of your weakness through Christ. This brings to mind a part of the history of this monastery. We had hired a contractor to complete our library building. This is when we didn't have any other buildings but the church and the chapel and one cabin. Father Paul and I were living in a trailer at the time, so this was a great problem that we needed to take care of because we needed a place to put our tools for the winter. And the man asked about the empty foundations, and I explained to him that we didn't have the money to do anything further than finish the library building. And he said, well, how much money do you have? And I told him, and he said, well, I'll tell you what. He says, I can get supplies that we will need from large contractors who have huge building projects going on, and they overstock so they don't have any delays in the work schedule. So the first thing he did is he came by one day and called, and he said, would you like to have hardwood floors in your church and in your trapeza? And I said, yes. He says, well, this is how much I'm going to need, and I'll come by. And then again, he came by and he asked if we had any kind of, he gave us another subject, thing that he needed. And so I said, sure, we'll give you the check. So he came by. And then I had to go to New York for some church thing. And upon my return, Father Paul had written out checks for a total of $47,000. And the contractor was, as he said, storing everything at his headquarters, and he was going to bring a group of workers with him and trucks and bring all the supplies over and begin on a certain date. Well, that date came and he wasn't here. And so late that afternoon I called his cell phone, and I heard a click when he realized it was me. So then I called his office, and that was his ex-wife's house. And so then I knew we were in trouble. So I called a neighbor who was an FBI agent at the time. He's now retired. And I said, Father Paul, who is very good at numbers, remembered the man's license plate. And Father Paul also is really kind of a car enthusiast, so Father Paul remembered the make and model of this super expensive looking sports car this guy had. So I called David and I gave him the brand of the car and the license plate. And David said, I'll see what I can do. So about 20 minutes later, he called back. And he said, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is we've discovered the car. The bad news, it was stolen. So we have no idea how to find this guy. Maybe a month or so later, the man was finally arrested. And I went to court and was able to at least forgive him. But we never did retrieve the $47,000 that he had stolen. So when we realized after David's call that we had lost $47,000 that had been donated by a benefactor, I went out into our forest on one of our trails, and I knelt down and I asked God, please turn that which was meant for evil into good. In short order, we witnessed a miracle here. 16 islanders showed up and donated supplies and their labors, and the library was finished. And then one of them asked if there were any other things they could do, and he pointed to the empty foundations, and the next thing we knew, we had people coming here Monday through Friday for more than a year, completing all of the buildings. And we had enough money in the bank from donors that we were able to actually pay for all the materials that we needed. If we had had to pay for workers and contractors, we wouldn't have been able to do this. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. But I think most of all, it was a miracle for me and my soul to witness the results of actually accepting what had come our way and asking God to use it for good. Every one of us have things that come into our lives. Sometimes it's even losing a friend. I've lost a few in my life. But I look back, and the miraculous order that became obvious to me was that these were friends that, for my soul's sake, it was better that they walked away from our friendship. It's the same way with jobs. I can remember a job that I had years ago in Portland, and I was very bad at paperwork. And so finally, since paperwork was a core to my job in their opinion, I was relieved of my position, and I was without a job. And it actually was a good thing, because that was the encouragement that I had to go on to graduate school, rather than try to find another job that would ultimately probably not work because it wouldn't have my heart in it. I went to graduate school. So all of us need to think positively about the challenges and even the major disappointments that come our way. And I think a very good thing to do. But for all of you, if you haven't already, to acquire the book by the elder Thaddeus, Our Thoughts Determine Our Lives. May God help us all on this journey to paradise. I pray this was a blessing for you. And if it was, like and subscribe. And if you would like further content, click on links in the description.
Both now and ever and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Only begotten Son,